Hey guys, how's it hanging everybody? This is StormPow, and today we're taking a look at the UHURU XM900 XLR cardioid condenser microphone kit. And UHURU sent this thing over and wanted me to take a look at it and give it a nice honest review. So here we go. Now with this kit, you get everything that you saw in the box and everything that you're seeing here. You are getting the mount, you are getting the pop filter, the windscreen, the shock, the microphone itself, of course, and the XLR cable. And it's all right at about 60 bucks, give or take. I'll have a link down in the description where you can get it on Amazon. And it should definitely be noted that I'm using the XLR version, but they actually have a USB version of it, which I think is really cool. I looked up some audio samples from other people who are using the USB version, and honestly, it sounds like dang near identical to the XLR version. I was really impressed. Now, obviously, if you have an XLR setup, you get the advantage of, being able to monitor things on your interface or your mixer, having some extra little tweaks and everything like that. Whereas the USB is kind of like plug it in and that's it. You get what you get. You can't really make any specific tweaks. But 2020 is not really that good for getting audio interfaces right now, with everything quarantine and Rona. Audio interfaces and mixers are gouged really, really bad, so it can be a really bad time to enter the XLR world if you haven't already done so. So if you're needing a nice entry-level mic to get you started and you can't do XLR, they do have a USB version, and link for that will also be down below in the description too. And just so you know, you are actually listening to the microphone right now. I've got some basic noise reduction, but that's it. Nothing fancy as far as the editing goes, and I will have a part later in the video where you can listen to it completely unedited and raw. So first off, I want to talk about all the peripherals that you get with it. So the main thing is the mount, and I've had a mount that was almost identical to this that I bought separately a long time ago. It was about 30 bucks and I got it on sale. So the fact that this mount comes with this kit and it's still only about 60 to 70 bucks is really impressive, because I know that this stand in and of itself is worth about 30 bucks. Now, this stand is nothing crazy. I won't, lie to you about that, but it is really great that you're getting a stand like this in this kit. I mean, it's just a standard, mounts to your desk or whatever kind of surface that you've got. You can adjust it and move it away. You can move it up, and as you've probably heard, there's definitely some little noises from the springs on there. Again, it's nothing crazy. It does what it needs to do, and very, very seldom are you actually moving it that heavily in the middle of a live recording. So the fact that it makes those noises shouldn't be a big deal to you, but if it is, maybe take a look at getting a different setup or a different mount at the very least. Not going to complain too much about it though, because again, it does come with it and it's still a pretty low price for the entire kit. Now, I do also wish that it was just a little bit stronger, because with all this stuff on here, you'll definitely notice that it's getting weighed down a little bit. Again, it's not enough to actually present an entire problem. Like, I've not been recording and then just all of a sudden the mic starts teetering down or anything, but you have to have everything tightened like incredibly tight. And normally I like to have just a little bit more give on here so that way you can adjust things on the fly. But in order to adjust things, you've got to completely loosen and unscrew things 100%, because in order to keep things from not moving, they've got to be tightened at 100%. So not a huge deal, but definitely something to be noted. I wish that this stand was just a little bit stronger. Now, I also want to talk about the shock mount. The shock mount, does everything that it needs to. It keeps the microphone suspended. And if you don't know how these work, basically they've got these clamps and you can just loosen or tighten them up here, and then that's what lets you move the microphone a little bit here and there. So basically, this thing does what it needs to do. Now, I will say, every single time that I've used this thing, I thought that I was going to break it. And most of the time it even makes a really loud pop or crack noise. It's not doing it right now. I can't get it to do it while I'm recording. It's like when you take your car to the mechanic and it's not making the noise and the mechanic thinks you're lying, but I haven't broken it yet. So I guess that's all that really truly matters in the end. And honestly, I've put more wear and tear on this thing already than a lot of people are going to in its entire lifetime, because I've been taking it on and off. I've been testing it, putting different microphones on it to, see how they sound, so I could do these different comparisons and gather the data that I needed for this review. Whereas a lot of you guys are just going to put the microphone in one time and be done with it. So you're not going to have as much wear and tear, and I'm yet to break it myself. So like I said, at the end of the day, not a problem, but it's definitely something to be noted. It definitely feels like a lower end shock mount, but again, comes with it. Next up, let's talk about the XLR cable that comes with it. So it's a pretty standard, high grade, low noise XLR cable, nothing crazy. If you've already got an XLR cable, you're probably not going to notice any difference whatsoever from switching over to this one. You know, they're kind of all 6'1", half a dozen of the other at this point. Literally the only thing that I have to say in addition to that about the XLR cable is, man, they would have gotten 10,000 POW points from me if they were to include one that comes at a 90-degree bend, because with these microphones where the XLR port is on the bottom, the cord always gets in the way if you're doing anything where you need to get to your keyboard. Like basically every time you go to put your hands on your keyboard, a lot of times it's going to be wrapped up in the middle of your cable, and you know, it would be a lot more convenient for your wire management if it could bend at a 90-degree angle, but those can get a little bit pricey sometimes, I know, so I completely understand why they didn't include it. I'm just saying, would have been awesome. It would have been a huge quality of life increase if they could have somehow done that. And it's not like you can't go out and buy one if it bothers you that much. Next up, we'll talk about the pop screen and the wind filter. So basically, wait, pop screen and wind filter. No, we're talking about the pop filter and the windscreen. All I have to say is that I wish that this microphone didn't need all of that, because when it's completely naked, it definitely does capture a lot of the pops and the plosives really bad. But by the same token, when you put these two on here together, you'll get next to none. I actually thought it was kind of ironic. I was doing some tests with the microphone naked, and it really doesn't capture a lot of pops or plosives, but what it captures is the H sound. Like I was trying to say the name brand of the microphone. I was trying to say UHURU, and if you put a little bit of that extra like phlegm on the H, you know, UHURU or UHURU, you say it a little rough, then it has the worst pop on there, which was really strange to me. But again, it comes with the solution to that. You put both of these on here, you're not really going to have any problems whatsoever. I really wish that it didn't need the windscreen because this is such a pretty microphone. I think it looks really cool, and I wish that it didn't need this huge windscreen, because this windscreen is pretty thick, honestly. But I mean, that's good, you know, it needs it, but I wish that it didn't need it because the microphone looks a lot better without it. So maybe you would rather just use the pop filter, or maybe you're like me and you don't really like a pop filter being like right up in your face, and so you might prefer it like just with the windscreen. Now, one thing that I will say that's really cool is that this microphone doesn't sound any different with or without the windscreen, in my opinion. Some microphones to me sound very muffled when you put a windscreen or a pop filter over them, but this really doesn't. It keeps its crispness when you put all this on here, which definitely is a bonus from me. I recommend picking up one of these though. I highly prefer these type of pop filters. Basically, this will replace the pop filter and the windscreen both. It's just got these rubber bands on it, and you can go and put it directly on the microphone. It looks a lot sleeker. It's way less invasive and like in your face as the person recording the audio. And you know, I think overall it does just as good of a job in most cases. All right, guys. So now that we've taken a look at everything that comes with the microphone, we are doing a little bit more testing and examples. So what you're listening to right now is the microphone naked. There is nothing on it at all right now, and this is also no noise reduction or anything like that, so you can get a really realistic idea of what the static sounds like in the background. It has just a little bit more than I would like for it to have, but it's a very easy fix. You can just do some noise reduction in Audacity, maybe apply like a noise gate filter to your live stream, and boom, it's done. No big deal. Now let's try putting one of these guys on. These are what I mentioned earlier, and let's try putting this on. So now we've got this, and I'm going to try some pops, some plosives. We're going to mention the brand name UHURU even, you know, with a little bit of extra phlegm. And I think that this in and of itself helps out a lot with the microphone bare. And I prefer these because, again, they're not so in your face or anything like that. It doesn't cover up everything that's going on. I don't feel as claustrophobic with one of these on. And I think that it does the job well. And this is kind of all just to say that even something as small as this is going to solve the problem for you. But I do definitely want it to be noted that this microphone should not be used completely naked. So if you're one of those purists, you really want a microphone that doesn't have any kind of peripherals or anything on it, this might not be the go-to for you. But I think that this is a good compromise. It covers everything up, still keeps the microphone looking nice and cool and sleek and not really like big and bulky. But yeah, so just as a recap, everything you've heard in this video has been the UHURU XM900. There's also a USB version of the microphone if you don't have an XLR setup, but links for all that will be down in the description below. Be sure to let me know what you think about the microphone in the comments, and be sure, if you did enjoy this video, I would really appreciate it if you give it a thumbs up or maybe even consider subscribing. I'm currently working towards 1,000 subscribers, so any help that you would give towards that would be greatly appreciated. But other than that, guys, I do want to thank you all for watching. I hope you have a nice day, and goodbye.